Welcome to the Tom Ferry Show. Hey, welcome back to the Tom Ferry Show. It has been 3 years and we are back. Now, here's my question for you as you're watching this video. Are you looking for 3 or 4 ways to immediately get into momentum and make 2024 exactly as you designed? If the answer is yes, you're going to love this show. So let's jump right into it. As we start a new year, we were all smart enough to write our goals, to write out our plans. The struggle that I find, though, is many people can't make the leap between here's what I wrote out in my goals, here's what I wrote in my plans, to here's what I actually have to do every single day, every single week to get into momentum. Well, it reminds me of a story of a client of mine years ago who was transferred into my schedule as another coach. And I said to her, how can I help? She said, well, I wrote this giant business plan and it must have been this thick. It was huge. And I read it from cover to cover and I thought slightly overwhelming. Then I, on our first session, said, so tell me, how do you plan to achieve your goals for the year? And she was looking to double the size of her business. And I said, how do you plan to do it? She said, well, I'm going to follow my schedule. And I said, so tell me about your schedule. She said, well, I get up at 4:45 in the morning. At 4:47, I put my shoes on. At 4:48, I brush my teeth. At 4:49, I get dressed. It was so detail-oriented. It was almost overwhelming. Do you know someone like that? If you know someone like that, leave a comment below if you know someone that's a little crazy when it comes to their schedule. Well, after I listened to her entire schedule, I said, so let me ask you a question. How long have you had that schedule and how long have you been working on that plan? She said, well, I've been working on it for like 2 years. And I said, so you came into my schedule because you're looking to get better results. I'm going to make the recommendation that we take that plan, we throw it in the trash, and we take that schedule and we throw it in the trash, and we try and simplify this by just answering one question. So here's my first action for you. As you think about what it is you want to accomplish in 2024, it's January, you got plenty of time to get into momentum. Here's the question. What are the 5 to 7 most important activities that will drive the business, that will move the business forward, that will get you into momentum where you wake up in the morning with a sense of certainty because you know you're doing the right things 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever it is. So if we just stop right there, I'll tell you what she said to me. She said, well, I got to go to the gym. I'm like, okay, great. Let's put that on the list. Go to the gym. What else do you have to do? Well, I need blah, 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 blah. I said, no. Let's chunk it up. Let's keep it simple. It sounds like morning routine. She's like, yes, I need a morning routine where I listen to something, get myself fired up. I said, and what about the office? Oh, I want to get to the office at this time. It doesn't really matter. It's your schedule. You decide. I said, but when you get to the office, what is the most important thing you need to do to start the day? She says, I need to go inside the MLS. I need to look at all the new listings, all the pending sales. I'm like, okay, so we're going to check the daily hot sheet. So we're going to go to the gym. We're going to have a powerful morning routine. We're going to check the daily hot sheets. Now, what else do you have to do to get your business into momentum? She goes, follow up. I said, okay, is it follow up or is it schedule some appointments? She said, well, I think it's both. And I said, well, let's write down follow up and schedule appointments. That was the 4th thing she put on her list. I said, okay, so once we've done that, what else do we have to do? She's like, oh, I knew you were going to make me do this. I've got to start calling my clients in my sphere and I've got to, work for some repeat and referral business. I struggle with that. I'm like, well, let's get it on the list because we know that's important. What else? And she had another lead source that she was focusing on, just like you. We added that to the list. Now, here's my point. When her and I decided to go from this sort of complicated, crazy business plan and this incredible schedule that was just overwhelming to even try and follow, and we simplified it into a daily Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday across the top, the activities on the bottom left, a daily and weekly action checklist. All of a sudden now she was like, okay, I know those are the things I have to do. That's what's going to get me into momentum. Those are the things that when I do that, my business starts to hum and I'm like, okay, great, let's not complicate it. Why don't we just for the next 30 to 45 days, just do that? Now, my question is, how many days a week are you going to commit to those things? How many days a week? And she told me the numbers. And then I said, okay, let's take it one step further. So you're clear on this. I'm asking you, what are the most important activities? 5 to 7 things that move the needle in your business. Sending your emails, sending your texts, doing your follow-up, scheduling appointments, knowing the daily numbers. You know what you have to do. You were smart enough to write your plan. Now let's get into something actionable. So she creates the list, and then we created a little accountability where she had to send it to me once a week before our coaching session. Now for you, that could be, with your spouse. That could be with your office manager. It could be with your business coach. It could be with your mastermind group. But the science says that if I write out the list and I track and measure against it, and then I report it back to somebody, when I report it back to somebody, I get geometric growth. I get the lift that I'm looking for in my business. I want to get into momentum. So the most important thing I'm going to say to you as we start the new year, and I know it's, we're a couple weeks in, but it's okay, is what are the 5 to 7 most important activities you need to do on a daily and weekly basis that will move your business forward? You know your business, you know the stuff. Just promise me you're going to focus on the leading indicators, the cause, the do the thing, have the power stuff, not the, hey, I want 2 listings and I want 3 sales, because those are the lagging indicators. I know you want all those things, but I need to know the cause that's going to get you those results. So that's number 1. Now, Number two, if you've ever read all these great business books, whether it's, EOS and Traction or the 4 Disciplines of Execution or Measure What Matters, they all basically say the same thing. They say, number 1, have a wildly important goal. You've got that, right? For the year, personally and professionally. They say, know the activities required to get there, right? We just talked about that. So you know the things you have to do that will move the needle and move your business forward. But this is where it gets great. Number 3 says, if I want to have a great business, if I want to really get into momentum, I've got to put a scoreboard up that visually tracks and measures what it is I'm committed to. Now, with everything happening in the world, it's hard to argue against what is the single most important thing that is the driver of success in my business. Like, I would argue in my 30 plus years of experience, it is the number of appointments that I schedule and the number of appointments I go on. So what if I told you, I think if I walked inside your office, your cubicle, your home office, wherever you're watching this, if I don't see an appointment goal for the year, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down to the bottom, the number of appointments you want to go on, if I don't see that visually inside the office, I might question, are you in sales? I might ask yourself, what are you really doing in this business? Now, don't take offense to that. I care. So I call that carefrontation. When I care, I will say to people, if you don't have a visual scoreboard of the number 1 leading indicator of success in this business, booking and going on appointments, if you don't have that, you're not really in the game. So if you're feeling the pressure of that, what are you going to do today? Maybe you're going to get a whiteboard up. Maybe you're going to go buy like a big white piece of paper and you're going to write out the numbers. But what I want is I want it up in visual, whether it's at your home office or whether it's at the office there. I want to know exactly what you're committed to. Now, you know what happens? Every time I talk about this, people start to put those visuals up. And then it's like this, it's eustress, right? Are you familiar with the word eustress? There's stress. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. And then there's eustress. It's that positive stress. It's like, I'm excited about this, but I've got the butterflies in my stomach, but I know it's something I got to go do and I'm ready for it. I want to create some eustress. I want every time you walk inside the office, you look up on that wall and you're like, okay, I know I got to focus on solving this problem right now, but if I don't get after those appointments, I'm not going to get to my goal. So I got to carve out some time today to fulfill on the promises that I made to my clients when I told them I was going to follow up because they want to buy and sell real estate. So I'm going to at least do my follow-up. I'm going to book another appointment. I'm going to move my business one step closer every day, no matter what. You know what? That's what the greats do. That's what separates ordinary from extraordinary in this business. The extraordinary people simply do the things that give them the power, regardless of what's going on around them. How do we make sure we anchor that? We got a visual so everybody sees it, which means everybody inside the office, if you're watching this together, by the way, if you're watching this in a sales meeting, let me know in the comments if you're watching this in a sales meeting, right? Let me know. If you're watching on your own, just say, hey, in the comments, I'm watching on my own. No matter what, I want people around you to know what it is you're committed to. So that's number 2. Now, let's go to number 3. What I know is this. Most of us, you included, we want more business from repeat and referral. And what we know, looking back at 2023, certainly 2022, the second half of the year, one of the great drivers of repeat and referral success was client events. Now, there's a multitude of events you can do. You can invite them to an open house. You can do a big brunch. You can throw a back to school, end of school. There's tens of things you can do. So I don't have to give you the ideas there. What I'd like to see you do is book 4 events, 1 per quarter. Now, why do I really want you to do this? See, when you do an event, it's not the event. All the money and the referrals and the relationship building and the strengthening of the bond of your partnership is created doing 3 things. One is the invitation. Hey, Brandon, Tom Ferry, we're doing an event coming up on Hoobie-Doo. We'd love to have you come out. Can you join us, right? Having that conversation with someone in your sphere, a client, someone that you respect, maybe a prospect that you want to bring them into your ecosystem. Half the battle is just that invitation, just saying, would you like to join us? And when they say yes, you just had a positive conversation. And in that moment, you're never going to ask for a referral. But you know what you're doing? You're strengthening the bond. You're strengthening the relationship. The second thing is at the event. Hey, Brandon, I want you to meet my friend Phil over here, and Phil, let's meet Mary, and you're making connections and you're having fun and you're being social. And then the third part, which is following up and saying, hey, Brandon, I just want to say thank you so much for coming to the event. Did you meet some good people? Did you have a good time? I'm going to do one of these a quarter. Shall I keep you on the list and invite you every time? What would you like to do? Whatever the follow-up is, the bottom line is this. The more conversations we have with people that already know, like, and trust us, the more we cement in their head, Tom Ferry is my real estate agent. He's my guy. I'm strengthening that bond, not by saying, hey, who do you know? And would you like to? And do you know anybody? But instead, I want to deliver value to you, which you're going to hear me talk about throughout the next 12 months. So number 3 is if you want to get into momentum, you got to do 4 events this year, which means you got to book 1 in this quarter, which means you need another reason to start calling all of your clients, all your sphere, and all your prospects to invite them to that event. So let's do the last one, number 4. All right, number 4. Would you be shocked to hear that for the last 11 years, the first week of January, I open up Evernote, which is kind of where I keep all my notes, and I open up my entire calendar, and I go back through the entire year. And what I'm looking for is, what were the great memories, the great experiences that I had in 2023? Now, I know for a lot of people, 2023 was a hard year, and it was a battle for all of us in business, certainly in real estate. And yet, for the last 11 years, I do this that first week to reflect on the good things that happened. And you know what? It just gets me fired up. If you would have asked me in June of last year, how's the year going? I was like, it's hard. I'm working harder. I'm doing more events. I'm helping as many people as I can, but it's a slugfest with interest rates at 8 and everything else. You experienced it. I experienced it. But when I reflected back, looking at each week of the things that I did and the date nights with my wife, or the fact we got a new puppy, or celebrated our 30-year wedding anniversary, or time with my kids, time with my friends, playing golf, playing pickleball, whatever it was, I was able to identify that I really had, from a magical memory standpoint, a lot of great experiences. And it makes me reflect on the year differently. Now, I would ask you, maybe you should take on the same discipline. More importantly, point number 4 is, I would challenge you to create for yourself a list of experiences you want to have in 2024. Now you're like, wait a minute, Tom, you told me how am I going to have an extraordinary year? I got to do the thing, have the power. I got to have my checklist of the 5 to 7 things. And I got to get my scoreboard up and track and measure all my appointments. And I got to, I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm like, yes, I want you to do all that stuff. But here's the thing. We're all going to grind this year. I'm going to work hard. You're going to work hard. What I want though, is I want you to have these moments in time where you're like, hey, in the next month and a half, I'm going to go do this. And then 6 weeks after, I'm going to go do this. And now I've got a reason to go work my face off, help as many clients, fulfill all the promises, do all the follow-up, book the appointments, send the texts, send the emails, send the mailers, do all the things I know I have to do, because I know coming up, I've got this cool experience. And maybe it's a getaway. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's just taking a day off with you and someone you love and going to the spa, or maybe just going to the mountains or going to the beach. It doesn't have to cost you anything, but it's designed, and it's an intentional thing to say, in the next 45 days, I'm doing this, and we're going to make a great memory. Now, why does that matter? Once again, we all need something to look forward to. So if I know you've got 8, 10, 12 things to look forward to throughout the year, and I say to you, keep making your calls, keep fulfilling your promises, keep sending the texts, keep sending the emails, you're like, okay, coach, I'm going to do the work, but I know I've got this coming up, and that's going to be my break to go, This is why I'm working so hard. Does that make sense? All right. So I would love, as I wrap up episode 284, after a 3-year hiatus of the Tom Ferry Show, Brandon gives me a little round of applause, I would love your comments below. What are you going to do to get into momentum as quickly as possible in 2024 so you earn the money you deserve? Thank you so much for watching the show, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Hey, if you like this content, make sure you get back to my channel and check out Jason Pantana, This Week in Marketing, the Tom Ferry Podcast Experience, and of course, Mindset Monday.